Why is there such a huge disparity between white patients and black patients on the transplant list? And the answer is very simple. Black patients are considered to have no value. No value in comparison to white patients. It is a long-standing history in the United States that dialysis and most modern medical treatments were never designed for black people to use, despite the fact that we're all humans and all of our bodily functions work the same. Black people are considered angry, aggressive, confrontational, non-compliant, and most importantly, not intelligent. So from a transplant coordinator's perspective, and the vast majority of transplant coordinators in the United States are also white, from their perspective, they look at it as, well, why would we want to give a perfectly good kidney to some black person that's just going to trash it and throw it in the garbage, and then they're going to just keep doing the same things that they did that got them on the transplant list in the first place? We are depicted as being overall unhealthy people. We make poor health choices. We have poor diets. And that we do not have the capacity to be healthy. Statistically, white patients on the transplant list today still get more transplants done per year than African Americans, when African Americans are the ones that are predominantly on the transplant list in the United States, at least in California. And when I say transplant, I'm referring to deceased kidney donors, the ones that you gotta wait years, the ones that they make you wait years for. So in comparison, transplants view white patients as far more intelligent, healthier, they lead healthier lifestyles, they're more compliant, they're far less aggressive and confrontational, and they're easier patients to work with. Now, this is the perception, this is how they're perceived. Now, I want to be very clear. This video is not about white bashing. That's not what this is. I like everybody of every walk of life. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. That's typically how I live my life. You give me respect and consideration, I'll give it right back to you. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is. I believe that living in a vacuum doesn't help you grow. Right? If you're just living in an echo chamber where everybody is like you and everybody's saying the same thing and everybody's reinforcing other ideas and from the same place, it stunts growth. I think that we all have something that we can learn from other cultures. And America is a melting pot of different cultures. But you find there's all this divide, which I don't understand. It's like at the end of the day, we're all human beings here. But that's just me. So with white patients, they're considered to be more educated than black patients on the transplant list. And the most important thing is that the mission statement is, well, we have to get our white patients transplants as fast as possible because they have futures and most black people don't. Most of our black patients don't have futures, but all of our white patients do. They have good paying jobs they have to get back to. They have families they have to get back to. They have vacations they have to go on. White patients are considered to have things to do. So with me, right, the two transplant centers that I'm a part of are making me literally wait the maximum amount of time they could possibly make a patient wait for my blood type for me to be eligible for transplant. So CPMC in San Francisco, I have reached the maximum amount of years that I could reach for them, and that's 4, before they even think about looking at my name. With UC Davis, I'm at 4.5 with UC Davis. They're going to make me wait 6.5 years before they even consider me for transplant. So why do you think that is? I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here. And this is just my theory. I'm not presenting this as fact. This is just my theory. I believe that there's certain patients of certain ethnic groups that they're trying to wait out in hopes that they either get too sick to get transplant or they die before a transplant center has to do anything for them. Now remember this. Transplant centers, your local transplant center, UNOS, OPTN, they're not just these altruistic organizations that just want to help everybody. They're government organizations. And we're not going to get into semantics of like, well, they're only partly owned and the government helps them. Look, they're government owned. If the government is involved, they're a government organization. Like, when you have people in positions like that, in America, historically, African Americans have not been treated fairly. And we still don't, to this day. Not to say that it's all bad, but it would be foolish to believe, it would be foolish for me to get on here and tell you that racism does not exist. It still does. And it still exists in government institutions like transplant. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, so for nearly 40 years, transplant has been conducting kidney testing incorrectly for African Americans for nearly 40 years to disqualify them for transplant. And the 40 years, I'm referring to just modern transplant. I'm not even talking about like the advent of kidney transplants when they first invented it. It was probably even worse then. Hell, black people had to go to veterinarians to get medical attention because blacks were considered subhuman. We were not considered the same species as white people around us. I've heard of white patients getting transplants in like 6 to 9 months to a year, sometimes less. Like, blood type be damned. And as a black man, and you can say whatever you want to say about me being whitewashed or how I talk or how I dress, but me being a black man, I knew before I even got on the transplant list, I was scared to death because I knew it was going to be a struggle. And if you are an African American on a transplant list, you should be concerned too. But that still doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. If you're living right, you damn right you deserve a kidney. If you're living right, one thing you can do is voice your opinion. Write to UNOS. Write to OPTN. Tell them that this is bullshit. Tell them that they need to be held accountable. And they need to do everything in their power to make it right. And treat not just the patients that look like them, not just the patients with the bluest eyes and the blondest hair and the whitest skin, but treat all patients evenly and fairly. Eliminate all disparity. And if they have transplant coordinators that still believe in that way of thinking, well, they gotta go and get some new people in there. Make videos about it. Don't stop talking about it. Don't just let this fade away because that's what they want you to do.